Max limit of MultipartFile in Spring Boot. This follows the same teaching style as your earlier Spring Boot topic. Introduction. In Spring Boot applications, file upload is commonly handled using MultipartFile. This is used when building features like uploading images, uploading documents, PDF, Excel, etc., profile picture upload, bulk data import, CSV files. However, developers often run into an issue like maximum upload size exceeded, or the field file exceeds its maximum permitted size. This happens because Spring Boot enforces file size limits by default. A very common question is, what is the max limit of MultipartFile in Spring Boot, and how can we configure it? This topic helps learners understand what MultipartFile is, default file upload limits, how Spring Boot handles multipart uploads, how to configure max file size, how to handle large file uploads, best practices for production. This is a very practical Spring Boot file upload concept. What is MultipartFile? MultipartFile is a Spring interface used to represent an uploaded file in a request. Example: at post mapping upload public string upload file at request param file multipartfile file return file .get original file name. In simple terms, MultipartFile equals uploaded file sent from client to server. Example concept: user selects file means HTTP request. Multipart form data means Spring maps it to MultipartFile. What does max limit mean? Max limit refers to the maximum allowed size of a single uploaded file, the total request size. If the uploaded file exceeds this limit, Spring Boot rejects the request. Example concept: file size equals configured limit means request fails means exception thrown. Default multipart limits in Spring Boot. By default, Spring Boot has limits depending on version and underlying server. Typical defaults: max file size 10 MB, max request size 10 MB. These defaults can vary depending on Spring Boot version, embedded server, Tomcat, Jetty, etc. Example concept: small file means upload succeeds. Large file means upload fails. Common error messages: when limit is exceeded, you may see max upload size exceeded, exception. org.apache.tomcat.util.http.fileupload.impl.size limit exceeded, exception. Example concept: file too large means server rejects request means exception thrown. How Spring Boot handles file uploads. Spring Boot uses multipart resolver embedded server like Apache Tomcat servlet configuration. Example concept: HTTP multipart request means parsed by server means mapped to multipart file. During parsing, size limits are enforced. Configuring max file size. Application.properties. You can configure file upload limits using properties. Example: spring.servlet.multipart.max file size equals 10 MB. spring.servlet.multipart.max request size equals 20 MB. Example concept: configuration set means Spring Boot applies limits, means larger files allowed. Configuring using application.yml. Spring Servlet Multipart. Max file size 10 MB. Max request size 20 MB. Example concept: same configuration means YAML format. What is max file size versus max request size? Property meaning: max file size, maximum size of a single file. Max request size, total size of entire request. Example: upload one file of 10 MB means must be less than max file size. Upload 5 files of 5 MB each means total must be less than max request size. Example concept: single file limit versus total request limit. Setting large file upload limits. Example: spring.servlet.multipart.max file size equals 100 MB. spring.servlet.multipart.max request size equals 100 MB. Example concept: Increase limits means allow larger uploads. Programmatic configuration, optional. You can also configure it programmatically. Bean, public multipart config element, multipart config element. Multipart config factory is a new multipart config factory. Factory set max file size, data size of megabytes 50. Factory set max request size, data size of megabytes 100. Return factory create multipart config. Example concept. Java config means sets upload limits dynamically. Handling file size exception. You can handle file size exceptions using REST controller advice, public class, global exception handler. At exception handler, max upload size exceeded exception.class, public string handle max size exception. Return file size exceeds the allowed limit. Example concept. Upload fails means exception caught, means user-friendly message returned. Example controller. At post mapping /upload, public response entity string, upload, at a post mapping, MultipartFile file, then return response entity OK, uploaded plus file get original file name. Example concept. File received means processed means response returned. What happens if limit is not set properly? If limits are too low, uploads fail frequently, users cannot upload required files. If limits are too high, memory issues, risk of large file attacks, performance degradation. Example concept. Too small means usability issue. Too large means performance security issue. Server level limits. Important. Sometimes the limit is not only in Spring Boot. Servers like Apache Tomcat also enforce limits. Example concept. Spring Boot allows 50 megabytes. Tomcat allows only 10 megabytes, means upload still fails. So both must align. Reverse proxy limits. If using Nginx, Apache HTTP server, they may also have limits. Example, Nginx. Client max body size 50 M. Example concept. Proxy limit, Spring Boot limit, means request blocked before reaching app. Handling multiple file uploads at post wrapping -upload multiple. Public string upload multiple at request param list MultipartFile files. Return uploaded plus file size plus files. Example concept. Multiple files means total size must respect max request size. Streaming large files advanced. For very large files, avoid loading entire file in memory. Use streaming or chunked upload. Example concept. Large file means process in parts, means avoid memory issues. Best practice. Best practices include set reasonable file size limits, validate file size in controller if needed, handle exceptions properly, configure reverse proxy limits, avoid extremely large uploads unless necessary, use streaming for large files. Example concept. Balanced limits means good performance plus good user experience. Common beginner mistakes. 1. Not configuring limits. Leads to default small limits and failures. 2. Setting only max file size, but forgetting max request size. 3. Ignoring server proxy limits. Upload fails even after Spring config. 4. Not handling exceptions. User sees generic error. 5. Allowing very large uploads without validation may cause memory or security issues. Advantages of configuring limits. Better control over uploads, improved performance, protection against abuse, better user experience, avoids runtime errors. Challenges. Managing large files efficiently, aligning multiple configuration layers, handling exceptions gracefully, tuning performance versus usability. Concepts learned in this topic. By learning this topic, you understand what MultipartFile is, default file upload limits, how to configure max file size, difference between file and request limits, handling upload exceptions, server and proxy limitations. Simple definition. Max limit of MultipartFile. The maximum allowed size of uploaded files in a Spring Boot application, controlled by multipart configuration properties. Final summary. In Spring Boot, the max limit of MultipartFile depends on configuration. By default, it is relatively small, around 1 MB to 10 MB depending on setup. To increase it, spring.servlet.multipart.max file size equals 10 MB, spring.servlet.multipart.max request size equals 20 MB. Key ideas. Max file size controls single file size. Max request size controls total upload size limits. Must align with server and proxy settings. Always handle exceptions properly. Once you understand this, you can safely manage file uploads in Spring Boot applications.